It's 9:30. I hereby call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll observe a moment of silence. Thank you. To start our meeting, Mr. Holland.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move consent agenda A and B in front of the awards and recognition, because I know a lot of people want to go and do a little celebration downstairs, so I make that motion.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Consent agenda item A, fiscal year 2024 budget amendment, Francis Metters Council Chambers signage. Consent agenda item B, fiscal year 2024 budget amendment for Axon agreement. Can I get a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve consent items A and B.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we have accepted a $1,439 donation from the Rotary Club of Peachtree City to dedicate this council chambers to Francis Metters, who's here today celebrating with us her 95th birthday. Let's hear it for Francis. Thanks to all of Francis's friends and family and the Peachtree City Rotary Club who have made this dedication possible. And now, I hereby release you from the meeting. Everybody asks me, is it rude if I leave ahead of time? No, go ahead. If you would like to stand up and depart at this time, you're more than welcome to do so. And thank you again.
Did everyone know where the reception is?
No, we just had it.
Oh, I thought it was going to be something downstairs.
No, we just-
That's what the police is going to be downstairs. Okay, I got them confused.
Stay with us.
Oh, I am. You'll keep me on task.
We will do that.
Everybody's leaving before the budget meeting.
Suitcase and a half. Hey, Sal, it's on wheels. Good for you.
Meeting agenda item number 3. Peachtree City has the high honor of awarding not one but 2 SAVE awards, and I would like to call Chief Clint Murphy to the microphone, please.
Good morning, Mayor and Council, citizens, neighbors. My name's Clint Murphy, and it's my honor to be your fire chief. This morning, I want to acknowledge some rare occasions for our city and for our profession. This morning, we have 2 awards for cardiac saves. What that means, I want to use some stats on you this morning. So outside of the hospital, about 350,000 people a year go into cardiac arrest in their life. So out of that 350,000, 9.1% of them actually make it out of the hospital, okay? Even less of them make it out of the hospital with being neurologically intact and being able to return to their normal lives. So this is a great and rare accomplishment to have 2 of them within the last 6 months and 3 of them since my tenure as the fire chief. It's just a testament to the chain of survival, our citizens stepping in, our crew stepping in at moments when it counts. This is one of those moments where I think everybody lined up on the wall over here will tell you that this is why we come to work. This is the ultimate goal of what we want to do for the citizens and our careers. So this morning I want to tell you a few stories of what happened, and I'm going to start with the first one. This happened in January. So if Mr. Jeremiah Bishop, if you will come up here, please, sir, and let me tell your story. So on January 28th, Mr. Bishop started having chest pains at home and did not get any better. His girlfriend took him to the hospital, was taking him to the hospital, but before they could get there, the pain continued to get worse to the point where he was unable to bear it. They had to stop at a pharmacy to get help. They stopped and she called 911. As the ambulance arrived, Mr. Bishop went unconscious. Lieutenant James Chester, firefighter AMT, Jake Todd arrived on the ambulance and found him in cardiac arrest. His heart had stopped beating, and then shortly after, firefighter paramedic John Neville and Christopher Swayscoon and Jeannie Griffin arrived along with acting battalion chief Gowan to assist. They worked diligently on Mr. Bishop to save his life. The crew delivered multiple shocks using AED, used the Lucas device, which is a compression device that we use to assist in chest compressions, and began breathing for him. They administered several life-saving medications and transported him to the hospital. The medic crew were able to get his heart beating again, which we call ROS, return of spontaneous circulation, and he was sent to the cath lab where the doctors found he had a double widowmaker. So, very lucky man. He had 3 major vessels that were blocked, and the doctors were able to restore blood flow to them. He spent 3.5 weeks on life support and several months in rehab. He is now back at home and looking forward to getting back to work. And he would like to recognize the crew who saved his life, their professionalism, teamwork, dedication, and we'd like to give him an opportunity. We're just thankful for the opportunity to give you a productive life. Thank you. So Mayor, if you come down, I'm going to do this in sections because it's a lot of people. So if Lieutenant Jimmy Chester would come forward, firefighter Jeannie Griffin, now Battalion Chief Dwayne Gowan, firefighter paramedic Don Neville, firefighter paramedic Christopher Swayscoon, and firefighter AEMT Jacob Todd.
Sorry about that. I knew you weren't Jennifer. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations and thank you. Congratulations and thank you for saving a life.
All right, I'd like to thank them again, and they're going to go downstairs and have a reception of their own and get to talk to each other, which is an awesome thing. So thank you guys. Okay, so let's get to the next one. Next one happened on April 4th. This is Mr. Jonathan Dresmal. You come up here, sir. Jonathan, please. All right, I'm gonna going to tell you his story. Okay, on April the 4th, around 6:30, Jonathan was returning home from his morning run. Just before he made it back, he collapsed on a cart path just yards from his apartment. There were a group of runners coming by and found him lying on the path. Josh Shelton, Matt Tuff, and Rob Thomas were among the group who stopped to help. Josh, having previous experience, was able to quickly recognize something was wrong. He identified that Jonathan was gasping for air and was turning purple. Mr. Shelton, Tuff, and Thomas started CPR and called 911. It was not long before Officer Brad Chambers and Sergeant Keith Isaac arrived, and they had an AED that was attached to the patient as they took over CPR. The AED advised deliver a couple of shocks before the ambulance arrived, and they transferred care to firefighter EMT Mike Euling. Firefighter paramedic CJ Purdy arrived on the ambulance and coordinated with the officers to get Jonathan moved to the monitor and eventually to the ambulance. Soon after, firefighter paramedic Josh White, firefighter AEMT Jackie Lane, Lieutenant Chisholm, and Mitchell Willis showed up to assist with the patient care and transport. Corporal Noah Wooten, Sergeant Brian Eaton, and Officer Caleb McBride also assist on the scene and provided traffic control for us. Together, everyone made sure that the best care was given. Jonathan received more shocks and life-saving medication. His heart started beating on its own, as we talked about before. He was starting to breathe on his own as we transported him to hospital and continued care. Today, Jonathan is back home with his wife, Gabriella, and is helping him through his continued recovery. We can't talk this morning. We would like to recognize the citizens, the police officers, and the medics who worked together to save Jonathan's life. The teamwork, professionalism, and dedication he was given the opportunity for a long life with his wife and family. So, I would like to call up Josh Shelton, Matt Tuff, Rob Thomas, Officer Brad Chambers, Sergeant Keith Isaac, Lieutenant Blake Chisholm, CJ Purdy, Jackie Lane, Mike Euling, Josh White, and Mitch Willis.
You got this.
Okay. So, first one is Josh Shelton, citizen.
Congratulations on saving life.
Matt Tuff,
Congratulations.
Rob Thomas. I've got it somewhere. Okay. Okay.
Congratulations.
Officer Chambers, Brad Chambers, Sergeant Isaac, sir. I don't see Blake Chisholm. Okay. CJ Purdy, Jackie Lane, Mike Euling, Josh White, and I don't see Mitchell Willis.
And we missed Isabella Hunt.
And also Isabella Hunt also is there. So we would like to thank all of them for all of their efforts. We call this the chain of survival for a reason. Each one of these people intervened in his life and did their part to save him. So linking these chains together, you see that survival is possible, and we'd just like to thank all of our citizens, first responders, for doing an outstanding job. So thank you very much. So I'm going to dismiss them, and they're going to go enjoy time together also. So thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Retail Strategies, who will provide us with an update. How are you going to top that?
Can I make a quick shout out to Clint?
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Yes, I was exactly going to say that. How do
Yes.
you follow a 95th birthday as well as that? That's incredible.
Hold that thought 1 second.
Yeah,
Mr.
certainly.
Distadio?
I was just gonna make a shout out to the fire department. Last week, I had a welfare check, which was a surprise to me because I was feeling fine, but one of my neighbors called in a welfare check because I wasn't responding to a phone call that he made to me. Well, I didn't get the phone call. In fact, he responded to a butt dial from me. I had to beat off your firefighters, your rescue squads. I wasn't feeling bad, but nevertheless, they went through the entire rigmarole. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thanks very much for the interlude.
Certainly. Again, good morning, Mayor, Council. Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it. As a refresher, my name's Mill Graves. I'm out of our Atlanta office. I'm your portfolio director for this partnership. And today, I'll try to be as brief as possible, but I kind of want to give an update of where we are in the partnership, kind of the status as to what's going on 6 months in. And then talk a little bit about the data that we've pulled. There's a boatload of data that we've talked about and pulled and kind of analyzed from a market standpoint that we could talk about for the entire day, but I will not take up that time. As well as kind of give you an update on project activity, kind of where we're at as our focus strategy, as well as our conference representation on behalf of you guys and what's coming in the pipeline. So one thing that I do want to emphasize is that just a few takeaways of high 30,000 foot view of kind of what retail is and why we're in this partnership together. So you guys understand quality of life as a community. It's an important part of this community. And so retail is pivotal to that. So it's small business, it's national, it's having those amenities. That's important in retaining your citizenry as well as attracting new people to the community. And that oftentimes too is a way to make you competitive in economic development. So in addition to the jobs and the sales tax, it's also a way to remain competitive in the workforce recruitment area, right? So we see this as an X factor for holistic economic development beyond industry recruitment. So from a city level, from a county level, this is important to us, and I think it's important to you all. Three things that I think that folks should focus on is that everybody's got a role in the site selection process, and that's true for retail as well. So we've got a role, the city has a role in creating that environment for growth. The people that own real estate have a role. And so everybody kind of, our goal is to be a supporter in all of those roles, right? And understanding kind of what we can influence, because we don't control the real estate, we don't control the businesses that are choosing to locate here, right? So what can we influence as a group? And really, our role is to be your national, regional expert. You guys are the local experts, and so we want to expand that circle of influence. And so that's kind of where we are right now as it relates to that. Since we kicked off this partnership in November, there have been a few changes just in the last couple weeks. I am now your primary portfolio director, and I pulled a few people onto the team. So the 4 people you see up there are supporting me in our recruitment efforts, as well as our communication efforts with city staff. And so one of the things that we're going to be focused on in the next few months is, in addition to business recruitment and representation, is how can we take what we've learned about the community and how can we be a resource for staff? How can we collaborate more with staff? How can we then put this plan of action and the feedback that we're getting from potential businesses and kind of come back with some next step recommendations as well as strategy? Our most recent conference was in Las Vegas, which occurred in May. Shortly after we delivered your all's recruitment plan, our team collectively had 30 plus people that attended that, and we had over 400 meetings in about 2.5 days. So we've been busy, and so a lot of the last couple weeks, month, has really been following up on this conference, and so you all can expect a conference report as well as what I'm calling a quarterly business review at the end of this month, which will have more specific property updates as well as retailer feedback beyond what we gave you in Q1. So real quickly, I just want to go over some highlights of some data points. This is an incredibly important part of understanding the community fingerprint and kind of who you all are from a retail standpoint, consumers as well as folks that are interested in looking at the market. So I said we've got thousands of data points, and I want to reiterate that that is at your all's disposal as a community, whether it's staff and prospective businesses that are looking to expand here, whether they're national or local, right? So I want to emphasize that and know that you guys have that at your disposal. One of the things that we do to better understand this market is mobile data collection, and we use this to define what we call a customized trade area for the market. So what I would call a primary trade area for Peachtree City, for those folks that live here and for the folks that are coming into the market to shop because of the goods, services, and amenities that you have. So we've looked at pretty much every major anchor business, grocery, things like Target, Publix, Fresh Market, you name it, to understand where those consumers are coming from, where they live, and how often they shop there, right? And so this is just an example of Wilshire Pavilion. You can see the city limits in yellow there. Obviously, this community pulls consumers in from a large area, right? And we're also able to understand what, as far as from a performance standpoint, what each of these businesses does. So if you look at this particular Publix, it's number 34 in the state out of almost 200, okay? So that's impressive. These are questions that we get from prospective retailers that are looking at the market, as well as people that may want to buy a shopping center here. So how well does it perform? So these numbers are important. It kind of helps us show what this opportunity potential is. And so what does that customized trade area look like? 214,000 people is a lot more than the city limits of Peachtree, right? So not everybody in that trade area is going to come shop here every time, but that is the capture that could happen, right? So if you're a small business here, that's a number that is significant, right? How can you capture that based off what we know that's not here, or some of the gaps in the market as it relates to retail opportunities? You all have a very high median household income. The average is much higher than that, but most retailers look at median household income as a benchmark. And then historic and projected growth rates are incredibly important. So I don't think the city limits are projected to grow this much, but the trade area itself is projected to grow almost 9% in the next 5 years. So these are the kind of numbers that we're pulling together and sharing with potential prospects as they evaluate the market. And real quickly, these numbers and these household dollars that folks have, it translates into expenditures. So we're able to look within that trade area to see where the gaps are, where that potential is. There are a lot of folks that come here, from other communities to shop because of the retailers that you do have and the businesses that you do have, but there's still some clear gaps. Grocery stores are one of them. And we heard that from day one when we entered this partnership, that groceries and restaurants, particularly full service and a diversity of local regional brands, was a focus, right? So if you look at this graph here, food and beverage stores have a leakage opportunity of 220 million. Now you're not going to be able to capture all of that, but that's a really, really, really strong case to say, hey, multiple grocery stores could be supported here in addition to what you already have.
Mr. Graves, what does that mean, leakage rate of 20
Yes, so
million?
those are dollars within that trade area that are currently not being spent within that sector. So if it's grocery or if it's restaurants, they may not be captured here because it doesn't exist, or they're going somewhere outside of that trade area to spend those dollars. So if you look at food services and drinking places, which is restaurants, you got about 11.8 million, okay? You guys have a lot of different restaurants, but if you look at those two sectors, food, beverage, food service, those are the two that have really grown post-pandemic. So we see a lot of success and growth as it relates to those two areas. So that's important to note too, because you may want a certain retailer, but the question is, are they expanding right now? I mean, that's true of any regional business, that's true of a national retailer. There are cycles of up and down expansion and growth. So that has to be taken into consideration. And one of the things that we're doing is lining up those opportunities with the ones that are expanding now, that we know are
Mr. Graves,
interested in
can I
expanding.
interject just one question? Because
Certainly.
I didn't get it with some of the previous slides. What's the size of the area that you're gathering all of this data from? How big of an area from Peachtree City are you gathering that data?
Yeah, so like I said, this mobile data collection is showing that it's well beyond the city limits, right? And so
Yes.
this picture right here shows what that custom trade area is. So I mean, it creeps into the east side of Noonan. You're going way south. As far east as Clayton County, Fayetteville capture, of course, and then as far north, well into Fairburn. Okay. So that general area is kind of what we defined, through a process of kind of looking at all of these different mobile data collections and drive times to understand that this is what we think is your all's customized trade area.
So it's 15 to 20 miles basically is what it looks like just from my
Yes.
knowledge of the area.
Yeah.
You go all the way up
Easily.
to Fulton County if you're up into Fairburn.
Yeah, so I mean, I used to work on the utility side in Fairburn, and I know a lot of folks up there shop down this way. And the traffic on 74, my past life, I'm probably partly responsible for that because of some of the retailers that located there. But it's a huge capture for the amenities that you all have as a community.
I appreciate the clarification.
Yes,
Thank you.
certainly. And if you have any other questions as I'm going through this, because it's a lot of information, please feel free to ask. We've pulled together your marketing collateral, and we'll be doing specific flyers where needed. The good thing about Peachtree City is that you will have a lot of existing assets that are owned by very well qualified developers and investment firms, real estate investment trusts. So they have adequate marketing collateral. Our job is to really work for them for free to make sure that their vacancies, their site opportunities are getting pushed to the right people, and that we're in this together, right? To make sure that the highest best use opportunity is taking place. But this is just an example of what your all's competition area looks like. So understanding where all the vehicles per day, the traffic counts, where all the shopping centers are in proximity to the city limits, and who's there, right? Folks want to know who's in which center, as a lot of national retailers and even regional local retailers want to be by certain brands, right? We all know how much traffic Chick-fil-A drives. Specialty grocery is very important for certain retailers, just based off the clientele and the consumers that are going to go to those types of centers, right? So this is an important document. We're updating it on a regular basis, as well as doing specific, more contextual marketing collateral based off the request of the community, property owners, and retailers that may be interested. So I'm not allowed to really talk about brands just based off confidentiality, but I do want to give you a snapshot based off last quarter and this quarter as we kind of ramp up this promotion to get feedback and interest from users. This is kind of where we're at from that standpoint. So I'll break it down by sector. So grocery is a big chunk of this, right? We really believe that grocery anchors help drive a lot of these other end users like restaurants into the market with them, right? So it's a lot easier to focus on that first and then figure out kind of who is interested to go beyond that. In entertainment in a lot of respects, and other things like coffee and health and wellness and some of those brands, those will be interested in grocery as well. So we are getting feedback and talking to 3 grocers right now, and we are very focused on trying to work with current ownership in the market as well as developers that are grocery focused. And when I say grocery focused, they prefer to do deals and buy assets that are grocery anchored, and in particularly specialty grocery. So specialty grocery is really our focus right now. And so beyond that, limited service restaurants, mostly focusing on regional brands. So stuff that's in Metro Atlanta and some of the surrounding suburbs on the north side, think about some of those brands. And if they could locate down here, that's one of the big trends that we're hearing right now out of the Southeast, in places like Nashville, Birmingham, Charlotte, Atlanta, is that those regional brands are getting a lot of traction and looking at a lot of the suburban markets. So that's a big focus, as well as full service restaurants and then some specialty coffee areas as well, because those are very aggressively expanding in the post-COVID market. Everybody's got a Starbucks and a Dunkin', and people want more diversification as it relates to that. Any questions as it relates to some of those areas? And those numbers will change as we get feedback, as people say no, or there are challenges and opportunities. So that's really where the collaboration comes in with staff to try to figure out, okay, well, we're getting a no from this retailer, so what's next? Or we're getting a maybe yes, what are the challenges, right? And how do we address those as a community? These are some of the focus areas. I think everybody in here is familiar with these particular properties, many of which have some larger square footage vacancy, some which has a little bit smaller. The one thing that I'll say is big that we focus on right now is trying to understand where each of these tenants are in each of these centers as far as their current lease terms. If they're up for lease next year. That's important for us to know. How well are they doing on a national standpoint, right? Take Joann's Fabrics, for example, right now. They declared bankruptcy. It's an internal restructuring. So, they're probably not going to shutter their stores, but we've got to keep an eye on this stuff because it's a moving target, quarter in, quarter out, as far as understanding what that is. And for you all as a community, to understand that supply right now in the market for retail is extremely limited, right? So the cost of construction is high, land costs are high, interest rates are high. There's very limited supply. So when you see a retailer that shutters and opens up, 15, 20,000 square feet, that's a real opportunity in our industry for people to expand and capture on that. And one of the trends that we'll see as it relates to that are smaller footprints. So some of the larger boxes that we've seen in the past, they're going to look to go smaller and get more creative and pivot as it relates to that. And that includes grocery. So Whole Foods recently announced that they're piloting a smaller footprint store, okay? So that means just flexibility as it relates to macroeconomic conditions and opportunities for them to look at. So our focus really right now is monitoring the health of these retailers, connecting what we're hearing from the retailers with the interested parties that own assets in the market or are looking at the market or represent these retailers. And then one of the things that I want to focus on is strategizing with the community on opportunities for redevelopment or repositioning of property along Highway 74 and 54, and just understanding kind of what opportunities are available because there's limited greenfield development potential as it relates to commercial in this market, right? So that's a real challenge, but I've seen it addressed many, many, many times with communities if they proactively, intentionally, utilize what they're hearing from the industry to kind of take action.
There was a question I had.
Yes.
So when I first moved here many years ago, there was a small Kroger in the Kedron
Yeah.
shopping center, and it closed, and it was trying to get somebody to go in there, and it was vacant for a long, long time. And every time we talked about it, they didn't want to let anybody else go in there because they moved to the big Kroger up in
Yep.
Braylon.
Right.
And long story short, they held on to their lease because they didn't want anybody to move into it until finally, who was the company that moved in there?
Yeah. Fresh Market.
Fresh Market.
Fresh Market, yeah.
And they had a totally different opportunity there. They provided different things, and to include you could buy dinners and stuff, and it was really a step up. And that was a driver that a lot of people went to. My wife loved Fresh Market. So is that something that they need to look at? I mean, why they were holding on to this lease for probably 2 years. They wouldn't let
Yeah.
anybody into it.
Well, the grocery market's very competitive, and so, if an existing grocer has control of an asset, that's one of the restrictions they'll put in place. Braylon Village is a good example of that. Kroger,
Yeah.
doesn't want another grocery store there, right? So, that's a reality of our industry. Patience, new ownership, time in some respects will matter as it relates to that, and then also things happen on the macro level too that'll shift some of those things as well, right? So, like right now, Kroger's going through a merger, and so they're really not doing much. They're focused on different things, and so that's really changing their strategy as it relates to real estate. That could happen at any point in time with any retailer, right? So, kind of monitoring that is a really important part of that. But this next slide, that's a good segue to understand that we see site selection, particularly from the grocery side, can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Now, there are certain grocers that we've already talked to that have been monitoring this market for that long, right? So they know they want to be here. It's about finding the right place at the right time. And there's some things that we're talking with some property owners and some existing tenants where that could be an opportunity, right, for them to make a play. And so we see often as soon as people kind of let their foot off the gas with some of this stuff, that's when you miss the opportunity, right? So kind of being in there and kind of understanding what the restrictions are or who the players are, who's having the conversations and making sure it's a priority, that's really how you get a lot of this stuff done. You got to be the kind of the greasy wheel or the oil that greases the wheel, right, to kind of make things happen, and that's really our role there.
Is it also your role to make suggestions to like Kroger? Hey, you ought to look at one of these other things like Fresh Market.
we try to influence as much as we can. Kind of like what I said at the beginning, we don't control the retailer.
Understand.
We don't control the real estate in most cases. Cities that own real estate, that's a different game where we can really help influence a lot of things. So our goal is to kind of be that annoying fly on the shoulder and, constantly be there and telling them why they need to do this or why they need to do that, or this is what we're hearing from the community, or you don't understand this about the community that we've learned based off our relationship with them. And so that's the beneficial part of the influence there.
Thank you.
So I already mentioned this. So there's obviously a timeline associated with site selection, right? Things can move a lot quicker, but we are very much we're planting seeds right now. We're trying to figure out what those challenges are as to why nobody's moving forward on certain things, or if there is a time to move forward, what is that timeline, and how can we make that happen? And then also translating that back to you guys so that we're ready for it, right? So that something's going to happen, and for some reason, maybe incentives are involved, or there's a permitting issue, or there's a restriction, or something that could pop up. We want to get ahead of all those things so that we don't miss out. And then, so our next, I mentioned conferences earlier. This is my last slide, and I can address any questions, and I'm going to stick around afterwards if anybody wants to talk about anything specifically related to Peachtree City and retail. But we've got about 2 more conferences that are really Peachtree City centric for the rest of the year. One's going to be in Nashville, and then one's in Atlanta, the Southeast show. And so I've conveyed this to Jasmine, but there's a cadence to kind of retail where each year they have an idea that they're going to open up X amount of stores, and then anything can happen to kind of derail that during that year timeline, whether it's an election year, whether it's you can't find the right real estate, whether the numbers didn't work from a pro forma standpoint to get the development off the ground, whatever it is, right? So ICSC Las Vegas is a good Q1, Q2 check-in. ICSC Atlanta is a good Q3, Q4 check-in. So we kind of know where everybody's standing, and really we see a lot of urgency towards the end of the year too for deals to move forward because they've got to hit their numbers, right? If they've got to do 5 stores in Georgia this year, and we've only done 3, we've got to execute some leases or we're going to be in trouble, right? So we are representing you guys there as well as all of those folks that you see on that image, and trying to bridge the opportunities and facilitate. So would love to see your all's representation up at ICSC Atlanta in some capacity if possible, and a lot of it would be around building the relationship with the existing property owners in your market. That's a big part of this too. I want to make sure that you guys have a line of communication with those folks as they own these assets, they're managing these leases and the terms associated with them, and you never know when a tenant's going to go out of business, right? So with that, I'll leave it to any more questions, and thank you so much for your time this morning and your partnership.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
I do have one question. Obviously, you can't talk about specifics of businesses, but there's got to be a trend or things that are trendy in the marketplace now. Whether it's a grocery store or a clothing store or some specialty store. Do we get a chance, because sometimes these are regional and we're in the southeast region, and maybe they're very popular in the northeast region. And the expansion of those, I'm sure south would be somewhat important to you, because the Atlanta area certainly is growing very big, and we want to be part of that. Right. So my question to you is, trendy things that are happening that are moving from one region to another.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. It is one of the biggest trends that we've seen over the last couple of years. There's no secret that Georgia being the #1 state to do business for the last decade or whatnot, people are moving to the south. Atlanta's growing. Nashville is growing like crazy. Brands like In-N-Out Burger, right, putting a headquarters in Nashville and then opening up stores there. We're seeing a lot of diversification of what we know as national retailers and the brands that we're familiar with over the last 2 or 3 decades. I think folks are tired of it. I think the millennial generation that's coming, we're not going there. We went to Longhorn when we were, a kid, right? So we're wanting different things, right? And I think that's spawning in, as well as we're seeing a lot of brands coming from Texas and moving up, right? And so we're on top of that. We have an office in Texas. We have somebody in California. And so we're really monitoring kind of the trends of where these folks are going, and most of them are trying to open up in the Southeast. That's the next frontier for a lot of those folks that aren't already here and looking for that opportunity. And I think we'll continue to see that, as well as you're going to see, you know, I've used this story many times with communities across the Southeast, but Cercheros was a little brand, kind of a knockoff Chipotle. It's franchise driven now, and they started, I believe, in Douglas or Blackshear, Georgia. What was one of their stores, and now they're in Alpharetta. You know, they're looking to expand in Tennessee and the Carolinas. So you never know when a regional brand's going to, you know, grow like that, and we're seeing some of that as well, and trying to monitor those trends. And our hope is that, you know, being in front of that, we're going to position our community partners that we work with as the best place to go do that business and open up another store.
Please stay around after our meeting
Certainly.
so that
Happy
I'd
to.
like to talk to you.
Yeah. Thanks again for your time. I
Thanks
appreciate
very
it.
much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Our next presentation, I'd like to invite Dr. Tab to the podium, and we'll get to hear from our summer interns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council, and to our residents and visitors. I am excited to stand before you this morning to present our 2024 summer interns for Peachtree City. They have selected the name PTC Pathfinders, and their theme is paving the way to uncompromised excellence. We had over 130 applicants for our summer internship program for all of our departments, but only 10 were chosen. And so I want to thank the mayor and council for your support. I want to thank the city manager as well for approving my vision to have this program move forward so fast upon my hire. The directors and managers that are here that are supporting them and guiding them, these young professionals, we appreciate them. And the HR department for doing just the busy work for making this a meaningful program. So I want to call up these individuals one by one and have them come up, present themselves to you. You can ask them questions if you would like to do so. So we're going to start first with Mr. Brady Dunn. I will ask him to come to the podium.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Brady Dunn, and I am with the GIS department. I just graduated from McIntosh High School, and I will be attending Mercer University in the fall.
Very good. Yep.
Which university? I didn't hear it.
Mercer University.
Mercer.
Oh, Mercer, okay.
Was there anything at McIntosh that prepped you for GIS?
I was part of our yearbook staff at McIntosh, and it kind of has parallels in graphic design.
Fantastic.
Is the major that you're going to be taking in college going to be GIS, or is it going to be engineering, or what is the actual major itself that
So
you're going to be?
my major at Mercer that I'm hoping to do would be environmental engineering. So there are parallels.
I'm an environmental engineer, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Welcome and thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
to hear from you.
At this time, I'm going to have Miss Lydia Golly to come up.
Hi, good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Lydia Golly. I attended McIntosh High School, and I currently go to Georgia Tech, and this summer I'm interning for the Planning and Zoning Department.
Wow.
Fantastic. What's your favorite part so far?
I've gotten to see a lot of different parts of Peachtree City that I didn't know existed. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, us too.
I thought you knew all the corners of Peachtree City. I thought the kids knew all the corners of Peachtree City that their parents don't know about. Is that not true?
Not as I found this summer.
Could you repeat your last name for me?
Golly.
And did you just graduate from McIntosh?
I graduated in 2021.
Okay.
And you're at Georgia Tech? What's your
Yes.
major?
Public policy.
Wow,
Oh,
you're in the
fantastic.
right department.
Fantastic. Wow.
Anybody else?
Oh, thank
Nice
you
to
very
meet you,
much.
Lydia.
Yes.
Nice to meet you too.
Good luck.
Next up is Yvonne Hernandez.
Hello, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you. My name is Yvonne Hernandez. I'm the Summer Human Resources Intern. I graduated from Stars Mill High School in 2020, and I attend Georgia State University.
And what department, Yvonne?
Human Resources.
She got her own intern.
Yes.
Way to go, Dr. Tab.
And And what are you taking at university?
Management.
Management.
And the concentration is human resources.
Oh, no wonder you chose her. She's right in your wheelhouse.
And do you have a favorite activity or action, or what's the best part so far?
I would say overall the best part so far is just learning how we can help our employees succeed in their job and have all the resources they need so they can fulfill all their duties.
Wonderful.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Yvonne.
I didn't pay her to say that. Next up, Freddie Lawrence, if you would come up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Freddie Lawrence. I currently reside in Peachtree City, and I go to Alabama A&M University. I'm a rising senior, and I'm currently working with the communications department here. I study communications media in university. Also, I graduated from Capstone Academy in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Good for you.
You got great credentials. When you're taking communication at the University of Alabama,
Yes.
A&M?
Yes, I do communications media, yes.
Okay, wow. You're in the right area.
So far, Freddie has had to jump out of his chair and come find me at various places around town. Freddie, I forgot to tell you, we're doing a ribbon cutting over here, or we're doing a dedication. Can you come do this now? And he's on the spot. So I want to thank you already.
No problem.
How do you like working so far with the city and getting involved with the city and the communications area?
I mean, I like it a lot. I think it's really fun. I get to see a lot of places in Peachtree City, take a lot of pictures, and get to interact with the community in a way that I didn't know before. So I'm enjoying it a lot.
Good for you.
Good.
Thanks, Freddie.
Somebody's got feedback on this.
Next, I would like to ask Miss Natalie Lockwood to come. And today is Natalie's birthday, everybody.
Hey, happy birthday, Natalie. I know what you wanted to do on your birthday is public speaking.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Natalie Lockwood. I graduated from McIntosh High School in 2023. I'm currently attending the University of North Georgia, and I'm with the Convention and Visitors Bureau this summer.
Fantastic. Are you military? Do they have a lot of ROTC up there?
They do. I'm not with the ROTC program, but I do see them at school when I'm there.
And what do you love about the CVB?
So far, I've really liked being able to focus more on marketing because that is the concentration of my major, and just come up with new ideas and generate new content that promote both the visitor center itself and Peachtree City as a whole. That's been my favorite part, really.
Good
I know
for you.
Tyler's
You can
happy
use-
to have you, I'll bet.
Yes.
Council? Nice to meet you, Natalie.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Miss Jada Mitchell, she would come up.
Dr. Tab, could you say your name again?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Jada Mitchum. I graduated from Eastside High School in a far, far away town in Covington, Georgia. I currently attend Vanderbilt University, and I am with the City Manager's Office.
All right.
Questions about that?
All I can say is I've seen you in our meetings,
Yes.
and you are there taking notes and listening in. I think you can look forward to a lot of fun in government.
Thank you. That is what I plan to do, so hopefully.
Jada put together an economic development presentation for me to use at Renai last week, and it went very well. I was so happy to have your expertise. I really appreciate you already, Jada.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Thank
Thank
you.
What's something that you've learned? I haven't asked any questions. What's something that you've learned in your internship so far?
I would definitely say how important it is to have a cohesive government environment. I love how everyone works together, and I think that the way that you all work together is definitely a testament to Peachtree City.
That's great.
Thank you.
I
Nice.
love the way you speak into the microphone, nice and clear.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jada.
Thanks, Jada.
All right, we will have Miss Katarina Soroka to come up.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Katarina Soroka. I graduated from McIntosh High School in 2023, and I currently attend Georgia Tech, and I'm with the engineering department.
Good. Do you have a specialty?
My major?
Yeah, what's your major?
I'm majoring in chemical engineering.
Chemical. That's a tough row to hoe. I went to civil engineering because I couldn't handle chemical engineering.
I loved it, and you'll enjoy it. You'll never be without a job your entire life.
So what's shaking in the engineering department right now, Katerina?
Just a lot of projects. Yeah, working on getting permits and yeah, visiting sites.
Wonderful.
Good for you.
Good for you, Katrina.
Visiting sites, that's always the boring part.
Good start.
Yes, that's how you start.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
All right, I'll ask Miss Molly Stinson to come to the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Molly Stinson. I graduated from Whitewater High School in 2022, and I currently attend Florida State University, and I'm working with the library.
And what are you doing for the library?
I'm working on the oral history project that was started in the early 2000s, going through all the audio files, creating transcripts so they can all be posted online for everyone to see.
And is this going to be posted through the Georgia Library Service, or is this just staying in Peachtree City?
I think it's greater than the Georgia Library Service so that other people around Georgia will be able to see it, I believe.
And Molly, this is a history of Peachtree City? Is that
Yes,
what
sir.
I heard?
Yes, sir.
Oral history.
Yeah, an oral history.
Yes.
Which means?
Yes, so we have a lot of the founders, especially the mayors, but then some other critical members of Peachtree City in the early days whose stories have been recorded, and some have been transcribed, others have not, and I'm working on transcribing all of those and in a unified format so that they can all be viewed and seen, so the whole history of Peachtree City can be accessible for everyone.
So it's kind of an anthology of the history of Peachtree City.
Oral
Yes, sir.
history.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really neat. I had the opportunity to speak with our librarian this week about this, and she was downright giddy about how excited she was about this project and with working with you, so thank you.
Yes, I go home and I tell everyone stories, whether they want to hear it or not.
But Molly, you had today to meet some of the past mayors and founders of the city. Hopefully you've pulled them aside or already are set up meetings with them to talk with them, because they do like to talk.
Yes, I'm hoping to do, there's a lot of interviews already have been done, but I'm hoping to do a few interviews myself with some people to fill in the gaps.
What a great summer internship. That's great.
That's great. Thanks very much, Molly.
Molly, do you like Florida State?
I love Florida State.
All right, Mr. Brandon Taylor, if you would come up.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Brandon Taylor. I graduated from Starrs Mill High School, and I am a recent graduate in accounting from the University of Georgia, and I'm an intern with the finance department.
Oh my, turn that mic up a little so you don't have to bend over
Tip it,
as much.
tip it.
Tip the mic. There you
There
go.
you go.
Now you don't have to bend over. And accounting, did you say?
Yes, sir.
You know, there's
Kelly, you got
vacancy.
this? Good, you're working for a great lady.
You know, there's vacancy in the accounting department.
Yeah.
You're always telling us that. There's an
Yep.
opportunity.
That's right.
Do you live right here in Peachtree City?
Well, I technically live in Sonoya now, but I still live in Fayette County.
Oh,
That's close
That's
enough.
close enough. You say.
Any big surprises that you're allowed to tell us about?
Not so far.
I love that laugh. That's a
Okay.
good laugh. Kelly, we got to talk later. With that kind of a laugh, we got to talk to what you got hidden.
Actually planning on starting his master's program this fall.
Excellent.
fantastic.
Great for you.
Fantastic.
Wow, fantastic. Nice meeting you, Brandon.
Nice
Thanks,
to meet you.
Brandon.
Meeting you, Brandon.
All right, last but not least is actually our cohort president that the summer interns has chosen, Ms. Delapo Thomas. So I'm going to ask her to come up and address you all as well.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oluwadolapo Thomas, but I go by Delapo. I attended McIntosh High School, where I graduated in 2023. Go Chiefs. And I currently attend Georgia State University, where I'm studying journalism and political science. That's it.
Oh,
Any
that's it.
questions?
Oh, well, and
Yeah, department?
Oh, I'm interning with the municipal court.
municipal court.
Yes.
So you're working with our solicitor, Marcia
Yes.
Moran?
Yep.
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Oh, and how's it going? And what do you do?
It's going pretty well. I get to sit in on court where I assist the judge, I assist the clerk, and I assist the prosecutor as well with whatever they need doing during court. And I got to see a trial, which was cool.
You have any interest in becoming a lawyer?
I'm just going to ask that.
I'm sorry?
Do you have any interest in becoming a lawyer?
Yes.
Ah,
You're in the right spot.
Yes, sir.
very good. Ted, take notice.
Thank you, DeLapo.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So Mayor and Council, this concludes our presentation this morning of our 2024 summer interns. I would also like to mention to you that because of our summer internship program, Georgia City Solutions, we have been nominated by Georgia City Solutions for a Youth Leadership Award, so we are a finalist. I would like to read that narrative to you at this time. The city of Peachtree City has implemented its first paid summer internship program for Georgia rising high school seniors and college students. This 10-week program is aimed at serving key purposes such as learning and leadership, skill development, exploration and career clarification, resume building, and local government recruitment pipeline. 10 interns have been selected to work in various city departments and will gain exposure to certain aspects of local government. This program is a testament to Peachtree City's workforce development efforts to create a skilled, adaptable, and inclusive labor force that can drive economic growth and improve the quality of life for these individuals and our community. Peachtree City is committed to this annual internship program that will develop and empower young people to become confident and capable leaders who can inspire others, advocate for positive change, and contribute meaningfully to their communities and to the world. And so thank you again for support of this program. In October, we will be recognized as a finalist at the Georgia City Solutions event at Zoo Atlanta. And so we'll be happy to bring back any takeaways from that nomination and being a finalist. So again, thank you, and thank you to these young professionals for selecting us as well.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Dr. Tab, I do have a question. Were they able to select where they wanted to work?
Yes, they applied for the top departments that they wanted to work
Wow.
in. Then they were then interviewed and then chosen. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What was the number that actually originally applied?
About 130 applicants, a little bit over
130, and
that.
we have 10?
Yes, sir.
That's an elite group.
Yes, sir.
The best and the
Cream of the
brightest.
crop.
Yes.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Yes,
each and every one of you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment.
Madam Mayor, yes, good morning. We have 8 signed up. The first person to speak is Mr. John Riley.
Oh, John.
And let's get the screen up.
That is definitely going to be hard to follow. Is this good enough?
Yes.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Mayor, Council, good morning. My name is John Riley. I live in the Retreat subdivision, directly behind the Braylon Rec Center pickleball courts, as you all well know by now. I'm here this morning to share information and, as always, ask for your help. I struggled a bit with deciding what to talk about this morning, not from a lack of material, but from an overabundance of pickleball information gathered from around the country. With 3 minutes to share, it's a tough decision. Do I speak anecdotally about my recent experiences, or do I speak more quantifiably about how other cities have dealt with this issue, which has been addressed in many places as a health hazard to nearby neighbors? Or do I share the information I found on a blog of a major pickleball paddle manufacturer's website? While I have plenty to say about the noise over the last few weeks and how it is coming earlier in the morning and later in the evening every day, and while I would relish the opportunity to let loose with a good woohoo, so you get the idea of what we deal with every day, I'm going to run with the paddle manufacturer. Paddle Tech has the following information in their website in a blog titled Game On, Volume Down, Tackling the Pickleball Noise Issue. They have a lot of information, but I'll keep to a few points. Paddle Tech states that consulting engineers agree with residents' claims that pickleball noise negatively affects their quality of life. They report that being exposed to the noise made by pickleball day in and day out is a health risk. Pickleball noise is described as an impulsive sound. A study covered in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that impulsive sounds annoy people and cause stress and decreased performance as people simply find it harder to work and relax when they are consistently interrupted by the sound. What's more, the impulsive pickleball pop sound is usually between 1,000 and 2,000 hertz, which is close to a human being's most sensitive frequency range, so we hear it better and from farther away. Backup alarms on trucks are programmed at this frequency precisely because it is annoying. PaddleTech goes on to mention that communities are shutting down courts in response to the hazard or placing moratoriums on play while they study the situation. So what does PaddleTech offer as a solution? They recommend buying high-quality paddles. They make a little less noise, and they are a paddle manufacturer after all. And they state that it's a good idea to keep pickleball courts at least 500 feet away from residences. That standard brings at least 14 homes into play in the Retreat, the Marks, and the Summit subdivisions. Our closest properties are within 80 feet, the closest homes within 140 feet. I've seen nothing that says anything short of enclosing those courts will mitigate the sound at that distance. These courts just don't belong where they are. I hope you'll consider this information as you make your decisions. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to meeting with all of you sometime in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next person to speak is Mr. John Cheatham.
Your time has expired.
Good morning. My name's John Cheatham, resident of Peachtree City since the mid-1990s. I'm here to talk about the Crabapple Lane gate closure or opening, however you want to approach that. I hope to approach this from a perspective of not being directly involved. I don't live in Kedron Hills. I don't live in Tyrone. I do have family and friends in Tyrone, and as well as in the Kedron Hills area. I really want to address it from a perspective of unintended consequences. I've seen a couple recent issues in the last handful of years where decisions have been made, what I perceive to be for a local area, and it has an impact on the rest of the community. One was we often travel down Gulfview Drive, and at one point there were a number of speed bumps put on that road. I think it was intended with all the best reasons for the residents that lived on that road. I can understand that, and it ended up being quite an issue from a safety perspective, from just an annoyance perspective of commuting through that. And the right thing was done, and those bumps were reduced, and I think that was the right thing to do. A little more recently, a couple years ago, there was one of my favorite golf cart paths is along Lake Peachtree. And one day I was driving, hadn't been down there a long time, and I started to count them and I lost track. But it was in the 20s, the number of speed bumps, I'm sure you're all aware. Speed bumps going down all the way around, completely disrupting the enjoyment of driving along a lake in a golf cart and so forth. Again, a very good decision was made, and those bumps were reduced. And I think that was the right thing. I think now a very similar circumstance exists here, where you has taken it to the next level. Instead of putting speed bumps along Loring Drive, you've completely shut it off to golf carts. I would ask you just to consider that in your decision making and whether to open that up to golf carts, at least for the time being. I would add one more point after the retail strategy session. I think we may be missing as residents an opportunity to bring that aspect retail into the Kroger shopping area. Folks coming from Tyrone on a golf cart, it's so convenient. I do a lot of shopping just on a golf cart. It's very easy. You don't have to worry about packing a lot of products. And opening that up, I'm sure the Kroger, Palmer's, Target, all those retailers would appreciate the additional flow. And it keeps the car volume and the truck volume off 74 and Peachtree Parkway and puts it into the paths. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next person to speak is Ms. Cindy Fallon.
Good morning, Council and Mayor. I'm here to address also the Crabapple Lane closing. We had 3 kids that we raised in Peachtree City and lived there for almost 20 years. And we're on the next generation here. These are 3 of our 6 grandkids that are staying with us because our son's out of town with his wife and oldest son on a camp. So we moved from the house we raised our kids in and bought one just over the line in Tyrone, and then the cart path got closed after one summer. So we're sad because our kids grew up being able to go shopping and driving with us and enjoy that. And of course now we can't. So we just pray that people would reconsider that decision. Also being in Planterra for almost 20 years, we also had the same issue of traffic coming through. And as you know, we put up speed bumps, and that helped with the safety issue. So we would just ask for reconsideration on that closing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Next person to speak is Mr. Skip Shaper.
Mayor and Council, my name's Skip Shaper. I'm here to speak about the opening of Crabapple Lane. My wife Marcia and I live in Crestwood in Peachtree City, and honestly, as a taxpayer, I feel that the city has and still continues to waste my tax dollars on this wall street closure malarkey, and losing $1.7 million of tip funding is ridiculous. I hate to see that happen. We want to be able to visit our daughter and grandchildren on the other side of the wall. We are getting older. I'm a Vietnam veteran suffering from Agent Orange related cancer with 4 surgeries so far. Along with this and aging, I'm sure that I will be relying on my golf cart more and more for transport. Crabapple Lane is the only access point where there's an arbitrary prohibition for golf carts, which I find unusual. I voted for every one of you up there today, including Clint Holland, who previously told me he was in favor of reopening Crabapple Lane. In fact, he and I talked about it on the phone. Recently, I learned he reversed his stance, lives in Kedron Hills on Loring Lane, which was eye-opening to me. This seems like this is a Gretchen Keola redo. I feel betrayed. He should recuse him from voting on this, since there is a clear conflict of interest, and you wonder why the public has lost faith in their elected officials. Case in point, Kedron Hills residents have created a false sense of hysteria by inflating the number of carts entering from Tyrone. There are not thousands, which I've heard mentioned before. In fact, no traffic study that I'm aware of has been done to even address this issue. Kedron Hills residents are able to freely drive their golf carts using the Peachtree City golf cart network without restriction through any neighborhood, including mine. I am restricted from fully using the network, driving my golf cart through their neighborhood. Why are they so special? Kedron Hills residents cite safety issues. If you're going to use curves in a road, and some contractors parking on a road is the basis for road closures, then about every neighborhood street golf cart access should be closed in Peachtree City. Are Kedron Hills residents the only ones who can operate a golf cart safely? They seem to feel
Your time
this
has
way.
expired. Thank you for your comment.
Basically, I feel like Kedron Hills residents are complaining about everyday life of living in a golf cart community. Do the right thing. Do what you were elected to do. Represent me, just a minute. Allow a dying Vietnam veteran to use his cart to visit his daughter. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next person to speak is Mr. Jeff Angelo.
Morning, Mayor. Morning, Council. My name is Jeff Angelo. I'm a local high school teacher and coach, and I live in Peachtree City. I come before you today to advocate for the opening of a golf cart access from Tyrone to Peachtree City. This access is not merely a convenience, it is a lifeline for a young lady in our community and one you should know very well by now. She is a bright, determined individual with autism who relies on her golf cart to commute to work every day and continues to face challenges due to the locked gate. This gate, while intended to be a good gesture of faith, good faith, continues to be a barrier to her daily routine. I urge you to reopen this gate as golf cart access only. It alleviates hardships faced by this young lady. Moreover, it would reflect our broader commitment to assuring that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, can access essential services and opportunities. Peachtree City is no longer a bubble. It might have been in 1976 when my wife moved here, but I've lived here for 26 years and never perceived this beautiful community to be exclusive. In fact, I have greatly appreciated that my children were able to drive themselves by cart to Stars Mill High School, a school which resides outside of city limits, and that we could travel by cart to see our friends in the beautiful Whitewater and High Grove communities, also outside city limits. My wife, the longest residing principal of Fayette County, she thoroughly enjoys seeing her students arrive by golf cart at Braylon Elementary every morning. The golf cart line is 5 times longer than the car line, and not a single making daily commutes from Whitewater to High Grove through via Timberlake. 20+ years of connected communities on the south side should be enough to set a precedent. Meanwhile, in my neighborhood, my neighborhood street is a thoroughfare for golfers, for pool goers, for gym users, and even though there are many parallel cart path options, not a single resident in my neighborhood has ever raised concern over safety of our children. In fact, practical parenting skills worked very well. The only thing I've ever raised to a golf cart was my hand, accompanied by a smile. I urge you to consider the human impact of your decision. By opening the golf cart access, we affirm our values of community and opportunity for all. Let us come together to support this young lady and others like her who rely on these paths for their daily lives. Let us demonstrate that Peachtree City has long evolved beyond its origins. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next person to speak is Mr. Evan Hofer.
Good morning, Mayor, Council members. My name is Evan Holfer. I live at 130 Gray Court in Tyrone. I've spoken here before, and my wife and I have both written about this, so I'm sure you know our position very well. I listened to arguments 2 weeks ago here to keep the gate closed, and frankly, there were a lot of false assertions, slippery slope logic, and many irrelevant points. So we're stuck at this impasse, and the issue is not going away. Your current stance is not benefiting your city. It's costing millions of dollars and has soured vital relationships. County leadership is resolute in its boycott and is trying to influence you to overturn this injustice. Hopefully you took the time to read the hundreds of petition comments provided to you, including from Kedron Hills residents who just want open access like in every other Peachtree City neighborhood for many compelling reasons. The rub is how we see the problem. Kedron Hills views the issue from a premise that thousands of new homes will be built along Dogwood Trail, funneling hundreds of golf carts through their neighborhood, thus imperiling their safety. If true, I would certainly understand that perspective. Opponents have a belief based on factual studies that there is very limited land in that area for new homes and would route a maximum of 18 golf carts per day, about 1 per hour, past 14 homes on Loring Lane before cutting back into the pass system. They believe this is a negligible impact since Peachtree City is a golf cart community and there have been 0 past accidents or injuries in Kedron Hills due to golf carts. However, to date, decisions on this issue have been based on misinformation, hearsay, speculation, and personal loyalties. Let me offer a fresh proposal. Rather than choosing between a premise or a belief, make data-driven decisions. Leaders from Peachtree City, Tyrone, and Fayette County should meet to sign a memorandum of agreement with specified stipulations, timelines, and consequences. Open Crabapple immediately to golf carts only, then collect data for a true metrics-based assessment, set a rolling 90-day average, and if golf carts originating from Tyrone exceed 60 per day on average, shut it down. There is not more than 1 cart for every 10 to 15 minutes. If you've ever been to any Peachtree City school during drop-off or pickup, you'd see more than 60 golf carts in an hour. the extra few golf carts from Tyrone would be inconsequential to the dozens of golf carts already traversing the streets of Kedron Hills. This issue should not continue to drain your time, energy, and attention. Make the choice to do what's best for Peachtree City and the greater community's long-term interests. This is your chance to restore broken relationships and stop penalizing all your constituents. The solution is right in front of us. It's immediate, obvious, and free. Thank you. While I've got 5 seconds left, I want to address Jeff Angelo, who less than a year ago had an aortic dissection, is here today.
Your time has
Several
expired.
months later,
Thank
after
you
his
for your
open
comment.
heart surgery, he was back in school teaching and mentoring young ladies and gentlemen. So appreciate Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Next.
Next person to speak is Mr. Blake Hayes.
Thank you. My name is Blake Hayes, resident of Peachtree City. I'm gonna be the odd one out today because I'm here to talk about golf carts, but not about the connection to Tyrone. So this comment that I'm making is somewhat based on reports that I've heard. So if I am mistaken, I'm happy to be corrected with what's going on here. But the city is currently working on building a new path along Robinson Road, close to where I live, to connect some houses in. And I'd heard some comments before that some residents in that area had been ticketed for crossing Robinson Road to get access to the existing cart path network, and that's why that new path was needed. I found this credible because I've also heard our police department has put out Facebook posts, for instance, when the new Booth Middle School was being built, that it was unlawful to cross Robinson Road to access that area. That's mistaken under the current city ordinances. I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from. I've heard the idea that there's a specific speed limit above which carts cannot operate on roads. That's not true in our ordinances. Our ordinances specifically say in section 7891A, the city council finds that all streets and paved recreational paths are constructed and designed as to safely permit their use by operators of motorized carts. There is no specific speed limit in our ordinances that blocks the use of a cart on any street. Instead, section 78-93I lists a specific list of roads that carts may not be operated on, and those are Highway 74, Highway 54, Peachtree Parkway, Sonoya Road, Rockaway Road, and Crosstown Road between Peachtree Parkway and Highway 74. Robinson Road is not on that list. There is no lawful impediment to crossing Robinson Road on a golf cart or even operating a golf cart on Robinson Road if there are not adjacent cart paths. If there are adjacent cart paths, they do have to be used. I'm not saying it's the safest, but we can't write tickets for laws that don't exist. So if you disagree with the safety of crossing Robinson, change the ordinance. Don't write tickets on non-existent law. There may be some application of state law to this matter. For instance, the official code of Georgia 46-369.1 says that golf carts can only be operated on highways where the posted speed limit does not exceed 25 miles per hour. However, that section does not apply to Peachtree City because the entirety of that part has no application to any county or municipality that has enacted, prior to January 1st, 2012, an ordinance authorizing the operation of motorized carts. That's why we're allowed to be grandfathered into so many rules that other municipalities have to follow. For instance, in other municipalities, you must have a driver's license to operate a cart. Peachtree City doesn't require that. We set certain age limits because we had those in place prior to January 1st, 2012. So that 25 mile per hour limitation from state law has no application. And even if it did, I mean, there's plenty of roads here that are 30 miles an hour. Carts operate on those. If it applies, then that would be illegal under state law. And
Your
it's
time
not.
has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thanks for the research, Mr. Hayes, as always. Next.
Last to speak is Ms. Danielle Kanonen.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Danielle Kanonen, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a resident at 140 Wickham Drive, off Dogwood and Farr. I've spent the last 20 years as an educator, teaching, and I love working with students in our community. I currently teach at Kedron Elementary, and I love being able to golf cart to work with my family. And I am asking for the golf cart path to be reopened on the Crabapple Lane so that my family and I can get back to being able to golf cart to school. I love the Tyrone community, I love the Kedron community, and all of the communities around Fayette County, and I would love to be able to see this happen again. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all that's signed up, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Agenda changes, council, I think we already covered that. Yep. Minutes, May 16th, 2024 executive session minutes, June 4th, 2024 special called meeting minutes, June 4th, 2024 city council workshop minutes. Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, we already covered. Old agenda items, we have none. New agenda item A, 62403, first reading of ordinance 1220, alcohol broker license. Stacy Collins.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning.
At our May 2nd council meeting, Flair Bourbon came before you. They are an alcohol broker, and they wanted to get a occupational tax, and we were making them get an alcohol license as well because they do sell alcohol. However, there was nothing in our ordinance that said broker license. So you all tasked us to change the ordinance. You gave us 45 to 60 days to change the ordinance to allow for that broker license. So we are coming before you today for a first read of our new ordinance, which does include broker license, and we define broker license, a broker as any person who purchases or obtains an alcoholic beverage from an importer, distillery, brewery, or winery and sells the alcohol beverage to another broker, importer, or wholesaler without having custody or possession of the alcoholic beverage or maintaining a stock of the alcoholic beverage. So their whole point coming across, which is what they were arguing, was they don't actually keep the alcohol on site. So we are putting this in front of you today for a first read. If you'd like to pass it, you may, or if not, if you need us to make any changes, we are happy to do that as well.
Thank you. Council, we may or may not need a second read. Do you have any concerns or questions? I know we had an opportunity to learn about it this week.
I have a question if no one else does.
Sure.
I'd like to hear from our counselor to see if there was anything in there that we should be paying attention to, because I've read it over. It appears just to be an explanation of what a broker is.
It is. This is a fix. As we learned a couple of meetings ago, there's a Tier 1 license in the state of Georgia that we did not per se address. Our language was broadly written to try to include everything, and we caught up something that we probably didn't know about back when we were updating our ordinances. So this is adapting with the times. There is now a classification under state regulations and law for broker licenses. We want to be able to address that issue. And yeah, staff, I think we took this definition from a state regulation or a state law. I can't remember where, but we copied what the state had put together in terms of what a broker's license is. And this will eliminate the confusion should another person attempt to get a broker's license. And we can spare ourselves a lot of back and forth, which is what we unfortunately had to do with the previous applicant. And that was not their fault. That was because we're trying to deal with something new.
Good. So what I'm hearing is that we've got it right and we should proceed with it. That's what I'm hearing.
That's our recommendation, yes, staff and myself.
Anybody else? All right. If we were to approve this, then we would not need a second reading.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further comments or questions?
No.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
New agenda item B, 62404, first reading of ordinance 1221, Transportation Advisory Group. Jasmine?
Yes. All right. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Council previously had advised staff that there was interest in starting to see new committees or boards. This was one of the first groups that we decided together to work on, which is the Transportation Advisory Group. which would include members of the community coming together in various categories, but looking at safety concerns on the paths or as well as on the roadways, and making recommendations, looking at various situations and hearing from residents, other residents, about concerns that they may have on either the roadways or the paths. So we have put together this item to be added to our ordinances in the same section that we have our other boards, commissions, and authority information on. And so this, again, is the first read as well, but council can so choose to make a determination to approve this ordinance.
Thank you. Council, questions or concerns? I know we've all had an opportunity to review this week.
I'll
Madam Mayor,
start.
I think we,
Go ahead. It's okay.
I was just gonna say, I thought most of us have already made comments about this.
I think so.
We did.
If we approve this, then we won't need a second reading. Would you like to make a motion?
I have a comment. I'll make the comment first, and then you
Okay.
can take a
Go ahead.
motion. I love it, first of all. It's about time. I'm glad we've done it. It's going to be one of hopefully many of these advisory groups that we bring in the city, bring in the city residents. What I didn't particularly like is under section 2, and I did mention this once before, but I just want it on the record. I would like to have more than only a once per year report from the advisory group. And it's a small change. Instead of once, have them come in every 6 months, because I know that they're going to be doing a lot of it. And I know it says at least once in this, but I would like to have it at least twice, and I'd like to hear what the rest of the council may have a comment
So
on that.
noted. If we have at least one in there, that means for sure they're gonna come in once a year, and we'll certainly leave it up to them as to whether we need to hear from them more frequently. That's our option. I think it's well worded.
I think we should leave it up to them. They're gonna come to us when they've got something important to bring to us. That's their job, that's their function. The only concern I had about the ordinance was that we established terms, and that's been put in there as a 3-year term. They're staggered, which is in alignment with what we do with the planning commission. I'm good with it.
I agree with Suzanne.
And I can back down on this, but it was just a point that I wanted to make. I just happen to like more reports than less reports, but it seems like having the words at least once per year satisfies that. Thank you.
All right, point well taken. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we accept new agenda item B. the first
Approve.
I make a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve. New agenda item B, the first reading of the ordinance 1221 Transportation Advisory Group.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New agenda item C, 62405, ADA Transition Plan. Dave Borkowski.
Before you start, Dave, I have a question. Madam Mayor, is that, since it was a unanimous vote, do we need to bring a second reading for
We
this?
do not. We
Okay.
have approved the,
Okay, just making sure that was noted.
Thank you. I think I said that out loud.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're coming to you today to request approval of the attached ADA transition plan and the proposed revisions to the 2 cars and cams that are included, so that we can submit this to the Georgia Department of Transportation. This is the initial phase of this project. It deals with the streets and roads and paths. Since this is a living document, we'll be coming back to you with amendments to this related to that, because there's different timelines put into this plan that you have. And additionally, we'll be coming back in the future for facilities as well, because that is covered as well. Basically just details out how we're going to deal with bringing the streets and roads into compliance, curb ramps. We told them basically we're going to do this when we repave the roads and paths. We're going to address all those issues, and we have timelines in there. So are there any other questions on the plan?
Thank
so
you.
far?
Council?
I don't have any questions, Dave. This is a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Holland?
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Please.
Even though I don't get to vote. David, my understanding's always been that streets are not facilities under the ADA. I know that crosswalks and curb ramps and so forth have always been considered necessary, that you have to comply with the ADA. But, I mean, I don't know how, and reading through this, I just wanted to clarify, I did miss something, that in terms of making every street in Peachtree City ADA compliant. No, I didn't see that,
No,
but I
it's
just
not
wanted to
the-
clarify.
Correct, it's not the streets, it's the crossings of the pedestrians.
Right.
The
Right.
path crossings, the sidewalks. We have a few sidewalks.
Yeah,
But
okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Mr. Holland?
Yeah, I have just one question, Dave. I mean, this is well done. I have no problems with what it is. What I don't see in here, maybe I didn't see it or I missed it, is how long is it going to take us to take the milestones that it's going to be going along before we're fully compliant with ADA? I know there's going to be milestones, but what are we looking at as far as the timeline?
to be fully compliant, we're talking years,
Okay.
basically. We've got, 100 miles of cart paths with over 1,100 curb ramps that need to be looked at. We've got over 80 facilities, so it's gonna be a while.
So it's, I guess it would be a prioritization of the areas that are the most needed to be done first, and then you'd work from there. I mean, to do hundreds of miles of, or 100 miles of cart paths, that's just not gonna be done very quickly. You're looking at 10 years or better to do them all. But there's gonna be some prioritization
Yes.
of what's gonna be done first?
Yes, there will be, of course, we'll deal with complaints, as the first priority. If somebody says they can't get somewhere, of course, we'll look at that immediately. But, yes, there will be developed prioritization, what can be done. That's all part of one of the steps in there.
Thank you.
And that's also part of the IMS rating system that we do on our roads. You approved for us to do that on our pass a few months ago. They've actually come out and done everything in the field, but they're putting the data together now, which will still be a few months probably. But not only are they going to give us ratings of the paths for how we should pave them and how we should prioritize it, they also went in and are going to give us the slopes of all the paths, and so we're going to have a very good idea of what we should focus on.
That's what I think is gonna take most of your time and
Yes.
money. I mean, the slopes on the paths are gonna be difficult
Yeah,
to
some
fix
of them,
those.
yes.
Well, and in some instances, you may have to provide an alternative route. So you may have some duplication of paths in order to meet the slope requirement for ADA compliance.
During my 2x2 with the staff, we talked about why can't we just repave those paths at a different slope?
If you can, then, yeah.
If the
it's just-
topography
Cost.
is, right?
We'll see,
Yeah.
it's all
It's
gonna,
cheaper than tearing it out.
it's gonna come down to cost analysis. And
Yes,
You remember the approach to the bridge out on Highway 54 West and how we struggled with getting that to the right slope, and it's why you wound up
With a circle.
with a winding path.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Brown, did you have a question?
No, well, yes, now I do, but, based on what was just brought up, if an alternative path is established, will we then have signage indicating not ADA compliant or something and instructing people what alternative path to use?
So to be a rerouting, is that?
Yeah,
They'll have
or is that eventually gonna become a problem? Because some of the paths, we discussed in my 2x2 with regard to, you cannot take the slope and make it compliant. You don't have enough length
Right.
of road to meet the 1 in 12,
Yep.
change. And so there's just no way to make some of them compliant. So if there's an alternative path, then wouldn't we be obligated to establish, this path is not ADA compliant, please use such and such a path, or,
I'm not sure if signage is a requirement, but we'll definitely pose that question to the folks at GDOT
Okay.
for the plan.
That's good.
I do know that there are exceptions, they say reasonable. In the reasonable or cost-effective, they use words like that. So we're gonna have to come up with, an internal standard of what that would be. Some folks are using 20% of the project cost. If it exceeds that, then we're gonna say that it
reasonable.
can't be ADA, basically, so.
All right.
Okay.
All right, council?
Mayor and council, and prior to or during the actual motion, this item also includes 2 revisions to our cars and cams. And the cars and cams are the policies that we're in the process of updating to ordinances, but in the interim, we would like, because it's a part of this plan, to make sure that we acknowledge in the motion the proposed revisions. So if we could have the motion to state something to.
You just state the motion for us, would you please?
Approve the attached ADA transition plan and the proposed revisions to CAR 6-2 and 6-4, and authorize staff to submit the transition plan to the Georgia Department of Transportation.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New agenda, thanks, Dave. New agenda item 62406, adoption of the annual capital improvement plan update.
I'm sitting in for Robin this morning. I'm Kelly Bush, the Assistant Finance Director. Back in May, we brought the capital improvement elements update to you for a resolution to transmit it to the Department of Community Affairs for review. Because we utilize impact fees, this is just one of the requirements that we have to do. DCA looks at all of the money that we took in impact fees, all the money that we spent in impact fees, the projects that we spent them on, and then all of our future projects, which are outlined in our capital improvement programs. They didn't find anything wrong with the plan that we submitted, so we're just asking for you to adopt the 2024 capital improvements element annual update.
Thank you. Let me get a motion in a second, and then I'll take any questions.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve new agenda item D 06-2406, adoption of the annual capital improvement plan update.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any last questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New agenda item 62407, library HVAC replacement and MRR grant for 50% match.
Good morning. I'm Jill Prouty, the library director, and today what I have for you is an MRR grant, which is a major repair and renovation grant available through Georgia Public Library Service, which is our state library agency. The age of our HVAC system is 20 years old now, at the end of its life cycle, so this is something we had planned on replacing in fiscal year 2026. This application is for the state's fiscal year 26. The application is due in September, but we decided to bring it to you early to make sure we got it in on time. It's a 50% match. The total amount to replace, excuse me, the 4 units is $474,306.80. Again, we would be on the hook for 50% of that if we were awarded the grant. Once the grant is approved by you all, it goes to our regional library and then for signatures down there, and then it gets submitted to the state, which will be included as part of their Georgia Public Library Services budget that they submit to the Georgia legislature. We have been the recipients of these grants over the past 8 to 10 years. As you know, the elevator modernization that has been going on, we've been going through this process here the past few months. We have our final inspection tomorrow, at which point we can turn the elevator back on. So we've done roof replacements, carpet, resealing of the building. We've probably received over $1 million in this type of grant funding. The legislature has been very, what do I want to say? They've been very amenable to providing funds to maintain public libraries in Georgia. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Council, can I get a motion?
I have a question.
Yep.
Justin, how much is our 50%?
232,000? Is that what I'm, 474?
That sounds right.
232?
Yeah.
132?
230.
232.
And it is budgeted,
I was just gonna say, is that in our budget?
it's budgeted for fiscal year 26, for our
Yes.
fiscal year 26.
Thank
So
you.
it's not in this year's budget you're gonna approve, it'll be in next year's.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is just to get the ball rolling so we can get the application in.
Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept, to approve the new agenda item 06-2407, the library HVAC replacement and the MRR grant for 50% match.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Public hearings, we have none. Council staff topics. A, council meeting time change ordinance for second meeting of the month. Stacy?
Yes. So Mayor and Council, if you all remember back in April, I believe, or prior to that, there were conversations about potentially changing some of the times of the meetings. Hence, we are here today. This is the third meeting that we had at 9:30 in the morning. We have been monitoring the meetings, just as we were asked, to see what was the average number of participants. We had for the meeting of May 20,
In May, we had 21, and in June, we had 20, no, I'm sorry, in April, we had 21, in May, we had 26.
correct. And so a part of that, we wanted to come back in front of council for you all to make the determination if you would like to see an ordinance permanently changing the second meeting of every month to 9:30 in the morning. If there is some interest, we can bring it back to council. If there's no interest, then the meetings will return back to both the first and third meeting being at 6:30 p.m.
Council comments? We'll start with you, Ms. Johnson.
Yes, I'm very interested. I feel like this gives an opportunity to our citizens to have multiple time options to come and be a part of our meetings. I feel like the more that we can give that access to our citizens, the better. So I am for a time change for one of our meetings.
Ms. Brown?
I like the meetings at night. I am not an early morning person. I was an early morning person for my entire career. In fact, worked rotating shifts, so was sometimes a midnight shift person. However, since I retired, I have discovered I'm not a morning person. I prefer the meetings at night and would like to leave them there.
Mr. DiStadio?
I think it's a good idea. The only question I have is you said we have 21 or 22 in those two different meetings. Do we know what we normally get?
So on average, we usually have about 6 to 12 attendees at our regular council meetings. There are always anomalies, such as this morning, we're not counting the one
No,
this
we
morning.
can't count today.
Or when we have maybe the pickleball association or people come for crabapple. Those we typically see larger numbers, but on average, we usually have 6 to 12 residents attend our meetings, and we usually see the same residents attend. I can't say, and I'm sure council will agree, there have probably been a different set of residents attending in the morning meetings than we usually see in our evening meetings.
Thank you. I figured it was probably half, but that's all right.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
there's only 7 people here now.
I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Mr. Holland?
I have to basically say, I am a morning person. I do like getting up early in the morning, and I don't mind the early meetings, but I just feel much more comfortable at the evening meetings. It's just me. What I might suggest as a compromise on this is that we have 1 or 2 meetings a quarter in the morning and the rest of them in the evening, so that we can accommodate those citizens that can't make the evening meetings and want to come into the morning meetings. So just a compromise suggestion to the council.
My comments on that, Mr. Holland, respectfully would be that starts to get very confusing. It's inconsistent. It's hard to get the word out. Yes, we have a lot of followers on our Facebook and other social media, but I think that means people would really never know when that second meeting of the month would be, and I think we need some consistency here. I think, to Ms. Johnson's point, we have improved accessibility and access for other groups of people, and now if we make this our pattern, then word gets out, and I think we'll see more attendance when the school year starts again from parents of young families, just as one example. And I think it's better for staff. It's my understanding that staff, obviously, if we don't need to call everybody in a second evening every month, I think that's a good thing for our staff. So I'm in favor. And Ms. Brown, I will bring you all the coffee you want if we move it to a morning meeting, and that's a promise.
So I've got, Madam Mayor, can I?
Sure.
I have one more comment to make, and maybe it's another compromise position. Why don't we look at this a little bit more? look at it maybe for the balance of this year. That's another 6 meetings between July and December. And then then bring this up again to make it permanent. Because once you make it permanent, and maybe we've made a mistake or we have some unintended consequences come out of that, I would rather not to have to take it away. I'd rather wait a little bit, maybe have a little bit longer period of looking at this before we make a final decision. Just a thought.
I find that to be very reasonable. If we want to do this 3 more times, you know, we thought we'd
Even-
try it.
Or even 6 more times for the rest of the year.
There's only
Possibly. Oh, there's only,
We only have 1 meeting in July and 1 meeting in December
oh,
usually, so it'd
4
be 4 more.
times.
Yeah,
Certainly just a suggestion to the council.
I don't mind that. You want to try it through the rest of the year? We have 4 more second meetings of the month in 2024. You want to continue with the mornings to try?
I'm better with that than a permanent change.
I've already said I was in favor of it.
Ms. Johnson?
Well, I'm obviously in favor. And I would like to say, whenever we've had citizens come to the microphone here at the meetings, we've only had citizens show up in favor of this when they've been speaking to us. We haven't had anyone come and say, I don't want a meeting change. We've only had appreciation expressed to us for our willingness to possibly change these meetings to a morning.
I've had the people say the same to me. I'm not fully against this thing. I just want to make sure we make a good decision and not have to reverse it. So for looking at them for 4 more times is not a big deal. Hopefully, it's not a big deal.
I'm for that. Is that reasonable for staff? You okay
Yeah.
with that?
You okay with that?
We'll just
Till the end
do,
of the year.
We will have to, at the next meeting, have a motion for you all to adjust the times for the upcoming meetings.
Sure.
Can we do that
Thank you.
now, Jasmine? Can we actually make the motion and do it now?
I think we had a motion.
No?
we'll do it next time.
Didn't we have a motion?
No, but we're in
No.
council stuff.
But we are amending this council topic and have a motion.
We'll talk
on it.
about it. We'll have it in our next agenda.
We're just gonna put it on probably consent agenda or
Okay.
something.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thanks, good compromise there. Before we leave council staff topics, maybe Jasmine, could you review the changes to the parade plans this year? I know there are changes to throwing candy and length of vehicles, and not everybody's gonna be happy about this, but for reasons of safety, we've had to make some changes.
Yes, so there were a couple of changes that were required. Unfortunately, there was an injury last year to a young child. So one of the changes happens to be there's no longer going to be allowed to be throwing. So you cannot throw items, throwing candy, throwing gifts from the actual float or from the golf cart. And that is just to try to ensure that people are not, and the children are not running towards the vehicles that are moving. So that's one. One of the other changes is that there is a requirement for all the participants to have spotters on the side. And those spotters can physically hand stuff to people, like candy, but they're not able to throw candy either. And that's also to help regulate in case anyone does try to approach the vehicle or the parade float or the cart. It doesn't allow, maybe the spotter can help keep them attendees back. And then the last change is also there's a maximum length of the float, and the float we're considering to be a vehicle and trailer to be a maximum of 40 feet. That's also for turning radius. If you've ever seen pictures of the parade, people are encroaching on the streets, and sometimes it is very difficult for the vehicles to turn. So that is another change. I'm sorry, there was one last change. There is a maximum number of parade floats that are being allowed, or parade registrants, and that's 115. So those are some of the changes, just for safety reasons.
Does the 40-foot include the vehicle that's pulling the float?
That's correct. That includes the vehicle and the trailer that's being pulled, a maximum of 40
Thank
feet.
you.
And the maximum, you said the maximum floats are 150, or did you mean participants?
Registrants for parade,
Registrants,
yes,
sorry.
115 total.
Okay.
What's
Now,
the-
s-
Oh, I'm sorry, keep
Go
going. I
ahead.
thought you were done.
Go ahead.
What's the most that we've ever had? What's the difference between this 115 and how many we normally want to?
So the length of time that we actually close the road, so we start closing the road relatively early, I think about 7:30 in the morning. And the max, I believe, was last year. I think we were about 125. Don't quote me on the exact number, but it didn't end until about 1 o'clock, 12, 1 o'clock. So it's a very long time to have the road closed and interruption in the city. So we're just trying to just mitigate that also, the amount of time that staff is out working and, you know, people being able to traverse around the city.
So this 115 is close to the number of people who want to. You're not turning a lot of people away, like.
So there is a
most
wait
people who
list,
wanna-
but we've also had cancellations. So
Okay.
we're pulling people off of the wait list as they come about.
All right, questions?
If you're a registrant and you want to register 2 things, for instance, I'm just making this up as I go. If you want to register 2 vehicles, is that considered 1 registrant or is that 2 registrants?
That's 2.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
That's 2.
All right.
Yeah, I think we also did try to limit it because we wanted to make sure that as many residents as possible who did want to participate. So we had seen in the past where one person may sign up multiple vehicles and then that limits the spot. So we did also, I believe, I think this is the 2nd year, we tried to limit on the number of floats a person can register. And then we did separate it by Peachtree City residents, and then there's a charge of, I believe, $25 for Fayette County residents and businesses.
Any other questions? Yeah.
No, point of clarification, I believe that the one person was able to enter 2 golf carts, but they have to ride side by side, not one
Right,
behind
but
the other.
I think you were asking if
Yeah.
that counted as one
One or
or 2,
two.
and I believe it counts as 1.
If they're side by side and on the parade, it's considered 1, is that, I'm not trying to be a
That's
hair
Maria here.
splitter, but basically.
You're not able to ride side by side because of, yeah.
Golf carts?
I think they have to be behind each other.
I thought it said in the thing that they had to be, you know.
Well, let's
We-
see, is
we
Harold
can-
here? Yeah, maybe he can
Oh.
speak on it a little bit better. But in
So
some
it is-
categories is 1, so 2 golf carts is 1 entrance, not.
Okay, they can ride behind one behind the other or side by side?
I believe it's 1 behind. Right,
Okay.
not next to each
Okay,
other.
well, that's the
Because
clarification,
that's how I
okay.
registered, I need to know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Any other council staff topics? I want to say that our boys' Little League 9 and under 9U took state. It was the Peachtree City All-Stars took state. I called Coach Travis Shug to thank and congratulate him. It was so exciting, Frank and I, and all of our staff, Jasmine, all of us who were there, Chief Moon, to see them off. It was just so much fun. But again, after they won, I called Travis. Coach Shug told me, Harold Layton is the man with the plan, and he made a lot of people very happy. Thanks for all you did for them, Harold. They really couldn't say enough good things about you. And then thanks staff. I want to thank staff for a wonderful presentation this morning and a very nice reception for Francis Metters. Francis Metters Council Chambers is now dedicated and permanent, and I really appreciated all you guys did to pull that together. So with that, do we have executive session?
We do. We need to discuss all 3 this morning. Real
Oh, boy.
estate, personnel, and pending or threatened litigation.
Just to tag on with what Mayor said, while the 9U won the state, that's not the first time they won. They won a couple years ago. So Justin, you're gonna have to get another sign put up on the.
Very exciting. All right, can I get a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we go into executive session for
Personnel,
personnel,
real estate,
pending
pending or
Pending
threatened litigation.
pending or threatened litigation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are in executive session.
Bathroom.